piatto c'è il sole e il tuo nome fa caldo. Un tavolo in due sotto il soffitto d'oro. Tu sorridi piano, io perdo la ragione. Tra un brindisi e un bacio si accende la canzone. Gira, gira così, la notte sa di noi. Stringimi più vicino, che il resto lo fai tu. Pizza, pasta, lasagna. Pizza, pizza, pasta, lasagna. E tutto quello che vuoi per farci innamorare.
Ba 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 ba. That's way too loud. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum.
Resta qui a ballare.
Goodwin, this is Italian mambo. I got a bunch of Japanese and Italian mambo. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Oh shit! I forgot my background song. Bum bum ba da da dum. Where's my tried and true? Where's my fireplace thunderstorm? Just how shameful it is. Fully Italian, my father's side, can't recognize the language. As far as I know of, Lord Swift, I don't think so. I think you'd be fine. Slow Racing, hello. David Garza, hello. Mad Dog, hello. Ashley12, how's it going? Thank you for the bits, by the way, Ashley12. Vesper Python, hello. Hannah, hello. Goodwin, hello. Let me see what stories we got today. We're going to do the first ones. They're going to be for Vincent, and then we'll get to doing stories for the channel, and then we'll get to doing stuff for Vincent again. Oh, VFX artist. Yeah, that's sick. What's up? I believe, Kayla, I believe she actually is singing pizza, pasta, lasagna. Let's see. How's that background sound? I haven't actually done the levels on this in a minute. So, is that, like, too loud? Is it too quiet? Can you guys hear the rain and shit? Reality games. Reality games? What about reality? I don't remember reality games. Oh, no. Oh, that was about that movie, right? No, I've not seen anything about it. Hannah, yo, happy birthday, Hannah. Let's see. I'm gonna assume this is probably needs to be about negative 25, 23. I don't want it to overpower me, but at the same time, I don't want to blow your ears out either. So I got that. Heartbreak. I know. I want to see the movie. No, they never got back to me. I don't even know. Quite honestly, I don't even know if these are like emails that are in use. Because like the first email I tried using, remember, it wasn't real. So, like, I don't know if these are, like, real email addresses that I've been trying to reach out through or not. Good start to the week. I got a new story to... Yeah, that's awesome. Another 10-hour rewrite of an older story. Goodness. The way I write first draft seems to set them off. Wait, the AI detectors? Like, for posting to... I don't know this. Does No Sleep use an AI detector? Because if so, I mean, like, that's good. What do they use to detect it? Is it AI? But also, I guess, like, I can't... If you just write using, like, I don't know. I think, what is it? If you write using the M dash, just normally, that would probably set it off, right? So I'd imagine, like, you gotta stop doing things in a certain way. I don't know if you use, like, the college comma, the comma before the and, that also is a sign of AI now, but also that's just proper. It makes more sense to use it. So, I don't know, is that what sets it off? Can that set it off? Oh shit, here we go. Hello, Vincent. Hello, Vincent V. Cava. I am going to be doing your stuff today. Well, I'm going to do these two first for you, and then... then I'm going to be doing stuff for the channel, hopefully. We'll see. We'll see how time it is by then. But that's the current plan. They could probably M-dashes from my cold dead fingers. So yeah, you just can't use it. If you've gotten used to using it, fuck it. Passive sentences, so you know it can't be AI. They don't, but I often, now after getting a thinly veiled accusation on the Watch the Birdie video of yours, for writing with ChatGPT. Whoa, really? Detectors. Really? That's crazy. So, like, Watch the Birdie, people thought was written with AI. I'm assuming, like, so I'm guessing it's because it became... You did reiterate, like, the situation again and again when the cops were, like, talking about the thing on the poster, like, to do the setup. I'm guessing maybe that's why they think it's AI, because there's, like, a redundancy there, but, like, I mean, it's fine. You have to write like a child to avoid AI accusations now. That's fuck. Though the AI witch hunt is insanity to me with some things. Like that's the thing about it is like the AI witch hunts is caused by AI, which makes, you know, but also AI detectors are just used to train AI. Is that real? I mean, again, like, this is not, I'm not on that side. I am on the reading acting side, so I don't see that part. Is that actually a thing? Because if so, fucking insane level play of just using AI writing to say avoid doing this to an AI to avoid being detected by, that's crazy. Jesus. It's real. They all train AI. All AI detectors train AI. Isn't that a thing? So I don't know that. I assume like this is a thing like in schools, right? I do know like AI is like a big problem when it comes down to like writing like essay stuff like for students because kids use it all the damn time. The cycle forever continues. But then there is an AI detector that's used to check to see if a kid used AI to write their papers. But then that detector is then used to train AI to better get around the ability to check if a kid... So it just perpetuates lack of literacy. Like a snake eating its own tail. They are owned by AI companies. That's crazy. That's wild. I guess, yeah, you're just... At that point, I mean, I don't know how is it like... I'm assuming it's like a subscription thing. Like, you're paying subscriptions to use AI, then you're paying subscriptions to use the detector. So they just receive money hand over fist, but, like... Also, repeated verbiage I use when writing first drafts, and to make matters worse, CreepCast, after they're drumming in the clouds, AI accusation passed the stories through AI detectors. Both all hands and out of season got set up. Whoa! Out of season just to have hope in hell of having it on the channel. That's wild! School anymore because that would drive me insane. Imagine spending hours writing an essay just to be failed for using... See, like, this is the thing, Shin. What would drive me crazy is, yeah, spending hours to write a paper and then being told it's written by AI, because then how do you prove it's not, right? I wrote this. Like, did I have to screen record myself writing it? Like, big art, God. So they buy up the detectors and use the... Oh, I see. So the AI company buys the detector, and then they use the data that's collected from it. So, like, the detectors were not developed to do it specifically, but then, like, seeing that, like, the detectors pick up on it, they just purchase another company, and then they just take the data from that company. That... evil. I mean, like, evil, but, yeah, God. Insane. Vincent, is that what this story's about? Waxing demonic? It's just the growth. Then they pull the AI generated that screen recording. Shin, I've been seeing that a lot with, like, on Twitter, where there's a lot of, like, witch hunt on some things, where I see somebody, like, post artwork that they've done, and then they're like, like, there'll be a whole bunch of, like, red circles on it, somebody's telling, like, it's this AI generated. And they're like, no, it's not. Here's the screen recording. And then that's the next thing you see is like, how do I know you didn't generate that screen recording? It's like, I don't know what to do. How do you prove? How do you prove? This story's about Fast and Furious 6? I had to write an essay. The AI detector thought it was all ChatGPT. Bro was pissed. Oof. Whoa. Misidentifying people. No, Poppy, that's... I just watched a video about this earlier, about, like, the flock cameras misidentifying people. Like, one guy got misidentified while he, like, from a flock camera in another state, but he still receives, like, a ticket for it. He has no way of disproving it, which means that he is then, like, American constitutionally... innocent until proven guilty. He is no longer innocent until proven guilty. He is now guilty based off of an AI algorithm until he can prove himself innocent, which is more difficult for him to be able to do, right? So it's wild. Story about Fast and the Furious 6. This story, Waxing Demonic, is about Fast and the Furious 6. If you're lying to me, this better be basically just a creepypasta version of that episode of American Dad, where Steve and his friends find a copy of the next Fast and the Furious film, and it turns out to be like 10 pages of story and like 280 pages of just really hardcore gay sex. Like, I can't believe it. Is that despite the fact that I have paper evidence showing the concepts, take pictures of my 2012 compact screen showing I'm typing in Microsoft Word. Oh, that's crazy. Be able to have channel. Oh God, that's crazy, man. Oh Lord. Have you guys not seen that? You guys don't watch American Dad? My wife loves American Dad, so I watch a lot of American Dad. Like, they try to, like, bring the Fast and the Furious script over to the studio. Like, we found this. It's like 10 pages. He's like, there's no way this could be correct. Well, we did take some pages out. It's all, like, hardcore gay sex written to it. He's like, oh, yes. This is absolutely a Fast and the Furious script. Is that what this is? I haven't actually read through this because I trust you, Vincent. Is this actually one page of build-up and, like, 12 pages of hardcore gay sex? Invocations of the Necro King. Oh, pretty gross. How can I help you, sir? Yes, well, I just purchased a record player because I'd like to get into the community. Community? The vinyl collecting community? Oh, okay. What is monies? Crawled across its face. Cash, moolah, cheddar, green packs, dead presidents, notes of value that can be exchanged for goods and services. Value. I have value goods for trade. Well, I've never met a female fasthead before. Oh my god, you weren't lying. I love that movie. That's when the franchise really started to turn the corner. The chase scene with the tank on the bridge is one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. Are you also a part of the Fast and Furious fandom? Fan? Wow, I've never met a female fasthead before. I love your tattoos. My name is Kenny. You've got to be kidding me. That guy's gonna die, you know. You forgot to turn off invocations of the Necro King when you were cleaning. I must have glanced back to the thing. It's insane that you're not lying to me. American Dad is the black Family Guy show? What the fuck you talking about, Vincent? You mean, are you talking about the Cleveland show? Or do you mean that, like, in another way? Black man to black man. How were you trying to say this? Shut up, Flower. Did you not like the Cleveland? I liked the Cleveland show. I thought the Cleveland show was funny. Alright? I liked it. What are we doing today? We are recording stories today. I'm apparently talking to Vincent Venicava, like, via the chat, but we're recording stories today. Let me get to my shit. Don't talk to me about Cleveland show. As we always do, I'm going to be recording stories, so which means I have most of the screen covered. That puts responsibility on you. It was mid. How dare you? I mean, it got canceled, so I guess, but how dare you? Most of the screen's covered. The responsibility is on you to let me know if there's a waveform in the back. You guys see this here, right? As I speak, there continues to be sound waves that are recorded onto that little thingy behind me, the timeline behind me. If that ever stops, I require you to tell me that they stop because I can't see them. That's your responsibility. If I finish a story and I have recorded nothing, I will crash out. I will cry live on stream, and I'll never go live again. Also, before we get started, I'm going to talk to you guys about two things. One of them is Midnight Monster Madness, which, if we get to it today, we will. If I get to it today, we'll be doing some parts of Midnight Monster Madness. I don't foresee that, seeing as there's like 4 things I have to do before I can get to that. But if you guys are interested in more work from Vincent Venicava, please click the link there. That is Midnight Monster Madness, the latest book series from Vincent V. Cava and James Sabata. There's 4 books currently available. They are all fucking weirdo horror stories. They're all good. They're written from really good authors, so you'll find that you do enjoy them, but they are very strange. Strange levels of horror and comedy mixed together in these double feature creature features. They're really fun. Check them out. You'll be seeing a lot of Vincent's writing, because I got 2 of them to do back-to-back first, before I begin anything else. Bruh, I thought you were Chinese. Poppy, I am both. My mother's from Taiwan. My dad is black. I have been to Taiwan twice? 3 times? 3 times? And the rest of on my dad's side, my family is all from Texas. Dallas, Texas. I also lived in Dallas, Texas, and don't anymore. So, but yes, I am half black and I'm half Chinese. I've mentioned this a few times. Black creators on YouTube. Let's fucking go. Please, Jet, don't make me be the only one that have to warn him. Oh, God. Yeah, I did. I'm not doing the junk drawer. No. Oh, am I? Wait, what am I doing? I'm doing, 2 of them. So I'm doing wax, and then I'm doing needle drop. So I'm doing waxing demonic, and I'm doing needle drop. I have 2 of them here. Junk drawer goes to somebody else. Don't worry about that. The junk drawer goes to somebody else. I have other shit to do. I have to do stories for you, stories for channel. Then I have other things I got to do. Also, I need to get a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, stick around. Those of you guys who are watching on YouTube that have not followed me on Twitch, make sure you follow me on Twitch. One day soon. Coming up soon, I'm going to be working on a couple of physical projects. I'll have a camera on while I do it, of making dinosaur heads for a haunted house that I'm putting together for Halloween this year. That will be at my actual house. We do a haunted house for the community here, and this year is Jurassic Park, so we're making dinosaur puppets, essentially, puppet-controlled dinosaur heads that will be used for that haunted house. So make sure you follow on Twitch if you have not followed on Twitch yet. Yeah, because I won't be going live on YouTube with that one. That'll only be live on Twitch. The other thing, yeah, this is the vinyl. Yes, I'm doing 2 stories for you now, and then I'm doing 2 stories. 2 stories for YouTube, and then after that would be something else for you. So, yeah. My favorite dinosaur is the Dilophosaurus. I love those little bastards. I say little. They're always, like, considered to be little. Dilophosauruses are actually, like, some 20-foot long lizards. I think Jurassic Park just made them look little. Not to say that they actually are. Irregardless, I think they are still, like, my favorite. Jurassic Park just did, like, a wonderful thing with them. The fact that, like, you know, it added the spitting, it added the flare around the face and things like that with the shake. And it just made them cool. I still think of Dilophosaurus as sick, like the real version of the Dilophosaurus. I really like the ridge across the head. I think the fact that it's essentially just another raptor type, but it is larger. But like, we fantasied it up with the ridge, and I am going to make the ridge across the neck of the puppetry that we're making from the haunted house. I think that will be very nice to show the head and then extend the ridge. And if I can, I'm going to also be hooking a squirt gun to it, so it should spit water at anybody as they come past this corner where the Dilophosaurus will be. But yeah, with accurate genitals, no. I think one of the things I wanted to do with the dinosaur sculpting is eventually, I know Autumn Ivy has been wanting to do a raptor. She's been wanting one of the raptor suits. We'll see where we get to. If I could be able to do controls for the head on the puppetry, then maybe I could be able to work on that. We'll see. How dare you? There's a lizard that looks like the Dilophosaurus. I know. That's what they based it off of. That's what they based it off of for the Jurassic Park film, because they wanted to not make another raptor. They wanted it to be very unique. And let me talk about MantaSleep. Happy partner anniversary. Thank you very much, Dr. Shadow. I didn't realize that was mine. Partner anniversary. The Mosasaurus. It's cool. Let's see. I have a sponsorship with MantaSleep. A lot of people have been getting sponsorships with MantaSleep. That's great. Glad to see MantaSleep getting more, because I think it's something that's valuable to everybody for this. Shit. I also gotta give you guys something. I got another thing I could give you that gets you. That's fine. Look, I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit later on about another thing. You guys get free TVs at one point. Don't worry about it. You guys will get it because you're here in the live stream. Those of you that stick around for live streams or come to live streams, surprise, you're gonna get free gifts soon. So, hooray! For those of you guys that watch this later on, be in live streams in September and October, and you get a free TV, maybe. When I mean TV, I mean it's like a tiny little one, a tiny TV that plays whatever you upload. Don't worry about it. You'll get that later, okay? Come to live streams over September and October, and you'll see the television. You'll see the TV. You'll see the little thing, and you'll learn about it then. Till then, this is a teaser. You'll come to live streams. MantaSleep. Yes, MantaSleep is a sleep mask. I use it. My wife uses it. My PA uses it. The guy who runs the live stream, he uses it. They all got one because I gave them one because I bought one for them. And you guys should also use it if you like listening to creepypasta stories when you go to sleep, or you just use a sleep mask when you go to sleep. These are really, really nice sleep masks. I actually do use one every night. I use the Manta Sound Sleep Mask. I sent the Pro Sleep Mask to the guy who runs the live stream. The Sound Sleep Mask also went over to my PA and my wife because they both listen to shit when they go to sleep. I don't know what the other guy listens to. Caldrack, I don't know what you listen to when you go to sleep. I assume nothing. So that's why I didn't send you one with speakers in it. The Sound Sleep Mask is what I usually push here because if you guys like listening to creepypasta stories as you fall asleep, these are very nice because they have soft Bluetooth headphones that fit over your ears, while also using C-cups that don't put pressure on your eyes no matter how you sleep over your eyes. It also like completely blocks out the light that way. That way you don't get like a little light shining over your nose and things like that. I think it's really nice. You guys can get it for 10% off using code CreepyPasta. They pay me like a kickback on that, but they pay me on a whenever you use that code, but also you get 10% off. That's why I'm pushing it to you. You guys get 10% off if you want to be able to use a MantaSleep mask. Additionally, please don't buy that if you wouldn't actually use it. I'm bringing it to you because I think it's actually nice if you guys would use it to go to sleep, especially if you're used to listening to things and you go to sleep. This is far better than putting like AirPods or something like that into your ear and getting them pushed into your ear or hurting your ears as you sleep. This is way better. So, yeah. I have a playlist of people sneezing when I sleep so I can listen to that with a sleep mask. Yes, you can. I don't know why you'd choose sneezing. I feel like there's far better thing. I feel like there's probably a playlist of like somebody else snoring to just feel like somebody's sleeping next to you that would be far better than just somebody sneezing, because sneezing is like a bunch of silence and then a sudden abrupt you know what I'm saying? So you can't. I feel like that's not a good thing to sleep to, but you do you, homeboy. You, if that's what you want, you listen to that over your Manta Sound Sleep Mask. Sure, creepypasta takes 10% off of that. Commissions open for reading creepypasta stories. I do not take commissions for reading creepypasta stories, but you can always email me, mrcreepypasta@gmail.com, a story, and then I can take a look at it. If it's something that I think could work at the channel, it'll work. Yeah, bingo, bingo. There you go. Hello, man. What a hell of a time to come in. And the Dudewick, what I'll tell you is, if you don't want to sound monotone whenever you're recording, at least for me, one of the things that really helped me get my voice to be more comfortable with doing things is to go over the top with what you're doing. And then you'll know when you want to pull back. If you feel like you sound monotone, then just become way too emotive and do way too much so that you know where you can find your comfortable medium. That's really the thing. You want to give like the most over-the-top thing you could possibly do for it, and you'll become more comfortable doing. You'll still feel fucking weird, and you'll feel fucking uncomfortable doing that. So when you pull yourself back from that into more of a comfortable zone, you'll be able to push yourself forward from being as monotone as you were. That's it. Speaking with hills and valleys just comes with part of that's acting. So just try your best to push yourself as far out of your comfort zone as you can with acting, and then like when you pull yourself back to be a little bit more grounded, you will have a higher level of or a more variation of hills and valleys with it than you've had in the past. So yeah, try that. Look, that's what I'm gonna do. That's also like when I fucking trust me, dude. When I record the bass ones for Tales from the Gas Station, I am doing fucked. Like, I'm doing over the top, way over the top acting. And Jack does tell me to reel back on a lot of them. But also, what I'm surprised about, sometimes he doesn't. He's just like, yeah, keep that. So, yeah. That's where the egg-shaped woman comes from. Oh, Jack, I gotta read your fortune. I'm gonna also hope that while Vincent is listening to this, he's also gonna give me direction. He's gonna be like, don't do that. Don't do that voice, because he writes like goofy shit sometimes, and I want to act goofy when I'm doing it. Good night, sweet bean. The first story you narrated, I do. It's still up here. It's awful. Make it horny. It's awful. I did a story called Curious Little Thing. During my 10-year anniversary of the channel, I also redid Curious Little Thing with the permission from the author, Chris Straub, from his book that he published probably some 20 years ago at this point. I'd like to imagine that my retelling was much better. I'm considering going back and redoing a lot of old CreepyPasta stuff. Now that I hear myself, my old mic, my old editing, it's terrible. I'd really like to do one that really like to do them justice, because I think they're good in their own way. But, you know. Look at it, said Britt. Actually, you know what? Because this is for like an actual thing, Vincent, I will give you the full intro on it. Waxing Demonic by Vincent V. Cava. Look at it, said Britt. She jerked open the door of the utility closet, then wheeled the mop inside. It's just wandering around over there, acting like nobody even notices. Marv squeezed the stress ball in his fist so tight the veins were bulging in his forearm. This day was already shaping up to be a disaster. I know, he said. It's insulting. They were behind the record shop's counter, watching the creature stalk through the aisles. At a perfunctory glance, one might have mistaken it for a woman who had just left a burn ward. But even that would have been a generous description. The thing's skin had a hoary grayish hue, like a statue that had been standing in some long-forgotten garden. Strange runes and menacing sigils covered nearly every inch of its body. It had no hair, and its eyes, which were black with red pupils, were so close together they were practically touching. Its ears were pointed and elf-like. Its lips were non-existent. Then there was the other stuff. The mouth full of spiny yellow teeth. Ooh, thank you. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. Look, I tested you guys and you passed, okay? Yeah, waveforms. Thank you. Its lips were non-existent. Then there was the other stuff. The mouthful of spiny yellow teeth, the forked tongue, the claws where feet and hands should be, and the tail that snaked through the air as if it was the tail that snaked through the air as if it had a mind of its own. Oh, yeah. And the blood. There was a lot of that, too. What record did it come out of? Asked Marv. Invocations of the Necro King, said Britt. She opened a bag of sour candies and popped one in her mouth. Her cheeks puckered, and for a second, Marv thought her face might collapse in on itself, but then her lips relaxed. Some hipster came in here and put it on the turntable in the back. He was wearing headphones, so I didn't realize he was playing something from the occult section until I heard him scream. Then he started peeling off his skin like some fucked up human banana. I'm not sure how, but that thing was underneath. Subdermal invocation, mumbled Marv. Pretty gross, said Britt. She popped another candy in her mouth. I've been mopping up guts for the past, half hour, but it keeps tracking blood all over the floor. Marv sighed. I told Perry we need to get rid of the occult section, but he won't listen to me. He says he makes too much money off collectors, then once a month some bullshit like this happens. The record shop's occult section had been a point of contention between Marv and his manager, but Perry had insisted on keeping it. Sure, those black magic-imbued vinyls sold a lot better than Lionel Richie LPs, but half of them were haunted, and the other half summoned demonic, otherworldly entities. They were more trouble than they were worth. Neither of us gets paid enough to clean up body parts, said Britt. The creature was now licking a mannequin in the back of the store that was modeling vintage t-shirts. It ran its tongue along its face a few times, deciding it didn't like the taste. Then swatted at it, knocking the cheap blonde wig off its head. Thinking it had scalped its victim, the creature plucked the wig off the ground and placed it atop its own head, to wear as a trophy. From the rack, it removed a XXL t-shirt depicting the logo of a grunge band named Pungent Sound. Slipping it on, and proudly admiring its disguise in the mirror, Marv had to admit, it did look a bit more human with the wig and the oversized shirt, but that tail was still a dead giveaway. He watched it strut into the easy listening section after that, as if nobody suspected a thing. He squeezed the stress toy harder. What do you think it wants? Said Britt. Best case, murder anything in its way. Worst case, world domination, said Marv. It's always something like that. Hey, came a voice. The two turned their attention to a man who they... Oh, it's not a guy. What is this guy? Hey, came a voice. The two turned their attention to a man who hadn't even noticed waiting. The two turned their attention to a man who they hadn't even noticed waiting in front of the counter. He was wearing a polo shirt with a collar turned up and a pair of khaki shorts. He looked mildly irritated, but Marv wasn't sure if that was just his resting dickhead face. You know, do you two actually work here, or just get paid to stand around? Check that. He was definitely annoyed. How can I help you, sir? Asked Marv. The customer presented them with an unfriendly smile before he began. Yeah, well, I just purchased a record player because I'd like to get into the community. Community? Asked Marv. The vinyl collecting community? Groaned the man. Oh yeah, I see, said Marv. He did not feel like dealing with this guy. Marv shot a glance at Britt, hoping she'd take over for him, but her focus was back on the creature. He was now eating a Kenny G's Greatest Hits album. He took a mental note to damage it out later. I'm not exactly sure what records to buy, said the man. Have you tried just buying records you like? Asked Marv. I don't think you get it, said the man. I'm looking for records that will impress a certain type of person, and I'd like you to point me to the appropriate section. Marv raised an eyebrow. What kind of person? He asked. A smile slithered across the man's face. This one was genuine, yet somehow more disquieting. Alt chicks, he said. What? Said Marv. You know, alt chicks, repeated the man. Tattoos, nose rings, bad haircuts, that kind of thing. The type of woman that looks like she'd be sticky to touch. You know, alt chicks, they love vinyls. And I want to curate a collection that would impress them. The conversation was becoming more annoying than Marv had actually temporarily forgotten about the creature creeping around the shop. Then it knocked over a rack of cassettes with its tail, and he remembered again. He shook his head. I think you're better off buying the music you like and meeting someone who has similar tastes, he said to the man. The man frowned. You don't look like you know much about women anyway. He turned to Britt, who was still watching the creature. Excuse me, miss? I'm gay, she said. You are? Said Marv. I am now, said Britt. I am now, said Britt. She rolled her eyes and sighed. Go help that customer back there, and I'll deal with Loverboy. Marv knew she was pawning the creature off on him, but if he was being honest, it kind of felt like an even trade. He wasn't sure who he hated more at the store, the idiots who shop for records there, or the paranormal entities that sometimes came out of them. At least the monster didn't look like the type to roofie his drink. Still, he would have to be careful. There was no telling how dangerous this thing was, and he really didn't want to get filleted an hour before his lunch break. It was picking through the movie soundtracks now, trying to mimic the mannerisms of the people it had seen shopping when it first emerged from the unlucky hipster. Marv stopped a good 6 feet away to give him some buffer space, then crossed his arms over his chest. He needed to get that thing out of the store before it broke more merchandise or killed anyone else. He tried to gather some confidence while simultaneously begging his bladder to not release itself in his pants. Can I help you? He mustered. The thing turned its black eyes towards him. In its claws was a record it had taken off the rack. It lifted it up to him.
I require thee,
it said. Marv looked at the record. You require the Fast and the Furious 6 soundtrack? He said.
Yes,
said the creature.
fast and furious sex.
At least this one could talk. Maybe it could be reasoned with. And probably not. But he could try. Do you have any money? He asked. The album is $34.95. His eyes caught the sale sign on the rack the creature had grabbed it from. $24.95. Then he saw a clearance sticker on the cover. $14.95. He tilted its head, and a perplexed expression crawled across his face.
What is money?
Marv took a deep breath. Great. It was dumb. Cash, moolah, cheddar, greenbacks, dead presidents, notes of value that can be exchanged for goods and services. Its eyes widened. Something he said had seemed to strike a chord.
Value,
it intoned.
I have value goods for trade.
The creature doubled over and began to heave. It hacked, coughed, and snorted like a 50-year smoker at a stand-up... It hacked, coughed, and snorted like a 50-year smoker at a stand-up show, then proceeded to vomit black bile across the floor. Marv recoiled, partially from disgust and partially because he wasn't sure if whatever was spewing from the thing's mouth was acidic enough to eat through his flesh. Thankfully, it was safe to the touch because when a bit of it splashed onto his brand new sneakers, the only pain he felt was his pride. He watched the creature get on its hands and knees and sift through the puddle of puke until it found a shiny purple stone. It wiped the stone off on its t-shirt, then presented it to him. What the hell is that? He said.
It is heart of Ozymandias,
it beamed.
Forged in the pits of earth, source of Necro King's wisdom. Countless died to obtain it. It is very value.
I feel like if I touch that, it's gonna possess me, said Marv.
Yes,
said the creature.
Infect mine with eye of Yugoslav. Very powerful.
This was not going well. He needed to get a handle on the situation before it spun completely out of control. The best way to do that was to get rid of the creature before it made a bigger mess. I can't accept that, said Marv. My manager would fire me. Please just put the record down and leave. The creature tilted its head again, then stuffed the stone back into its mouth with some effort. It swallowed the stone down.
Is not your house of commerce?
It said. Well, no, I'm the assistant manager. A hideous grin crept across its face. It slinked close to him, then reached a claw up and dug its nails into the back. It slinked close to him, then reached a claw up and dug its nails into the back of his neck. Marv winced. He squeezed the stress ball. It suddenly became apparent to him that the next time Britt broke out the mop, she was going to be cleaning him up off the floor.
Then I will kill you and feast on your flesh.
It extended a forked tongue from its mouth and licked the side of Marv's cheek.
Yes, you taste much better than the other one did.
That was mannequin, Marv stuttered. He considered begging for his life, but before he managed to utter another word, a voice rose up behind him. Hello? I could use some help. The creature released Marv. He spun around and saw the guy he'd left with Britt was now in the aisle with his hand on his hips. His face was red, and he was pouting. It looked like he was close to having a full-blown meltdown. I'm kind of busy, said Marv. Wasn't Britt helping you? She took a break, he said. She told me to let you know she doesn't get paid enough for this shit, which I found rude, by the way. Look, I don't think this is a good time, said Marv. Maybe you could come back. The man pushed past him. Whoa. He was now gaping at the creature, but it wasn't the thing's uncanny appearance that had gotten his attention. Is that the Fast and Furious 6 soundtrack on vinyl?
Fast and Furious,
repeated the creature. I love that movie, said the man. That's when the franchise really started to turn the corner. The chase scene or the tank on the bridge, it's one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. Are you also part of the Fast and Furious fandom? The creature tilted its head. It said, wow, I've never met a female fasthead before. He stepped back toward the creature, then shot it a wink. I love your tattoos. My name's Kenny. You have got to be kidding me, said Marv. The man extended a hand towards the creature. It recoiled, at first snarling, but softened when it realized he wasn't threatening it.
Is this your house of commerce?
Said the creature. Kenny threw his head back and laughed. Like I would work in a dump like this, he said. But I see it does have a few gems. He pointed at the Okay, Hylas. Go out. He pointed at the LP.
Gems, like heart of Ozymandias.
It doubled over and sucked in some breath. That's not necessary, shouted Marv. He was talking about the record. The creature had seemed to understand that it didn't need to vomit again and straightened back up. Kenny turned back to Marv. Hi, you have any more of the Fast and the Furious 6 soundtracks? Why would we carry more than one of these? Marv said. Figures. Probably a hard-to-find collector's item. Fast 6 is one of the most universally beloved films by the fandom. He looked solemnly at the creature. Well, congratulations on your find. Marv wasn't sure why he said it. Maybe he was just trying to exercise some control over the situation. He was even surprised by the words that came out of his mouth next. She's not buying that. Not without money.
No money,
it replied stupidly. Kenny glanced at the creature, then the record, and Marv could tell the wheels were slowly grinding in his head. I've got an idea, he said. How about I buy it, and we can listen to it together?
Together?
It said. Kenny clapped his hands. Sounds like a date. I live around the corner, and we can even binge the whole franchise after. I got them all on Blu-ray. Marv sighed. I'll help you at the register. The man and creature followed him over to the counter. That'll be $14.95, Marv said. That's a double clearance sticker at the back, said Kenny. He flipped the record around. $4.95, said Marv. Sounds about right. That's what I thought, said Kenny. He reached into his wallet and handed Marv a $5, then turned back to the creature. Gotta be careful at shady stores like this. They're always trying to screw you.
Screw you,
purred the creature. Kenny blushed. Let's see if we can make it through Tokyo Drift first.
Fast and furious,
hissed the creature.
Sex. Man, I love old chicks,
said Kenny. He put his arm around his shoulders, and together, the two left the shop. Marv collapsed onto the counter. It had been a close one. Maybe Britt had the right idea. Neither of them was getting paid enough to deal with this shit, but it still beat his last job at the fast food place. He mopped up a lot more puke there. Speaking of, he realized he'd have to start cleaning now, or he was going to be working through his lunch break. He opened the utility closet and found Britt standing in it. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She popped another sour candy in her mouth and sucked it before she answered. "It's not like we got a break room," she said. "I need the mop," Marv said. The thing hurled all over the floor. Puke is seeking into that New Age section. "Sounds like an improvement," she said. "That guy's gonna die, you know." Marv sighed. "Yeah, probably." There was a powerful rumble. Then a thunderous, maniacal laugh rose up from the back of the store. Their eyes followed the sound and found a black, ethereal figure hovering in the air. Dark smoke billowing throughout the back of the shop. Shadows danced. A pair of glowing red eyes took in the room. "Freedom!" the creature bellowed. "This world is now the domain of the Necro King." Marv shot a glance back to Britt. "Did you forget to turn off invocations of the Necro King when you were cleaning?" he asked. "I might have," she said. He glanced back to the thing, felt his stomach start to gurgle, then placed the stress ball on the counter. Why don't we take an early lunch?" he said. You're near spot on. Without editing, Vincent, this is 21:43. With editing, this will probably hit 19 something. But let's see, that's 13 pages. The next one, I think, is shorter, so this probably is going to go under what you want, maybe. We'll see. What if water population caused a zombie outbreak? Oh, water pollution? That's real. I can do a skit. Okay, that works for me. Free caffeine is free caffeine. Cousin showed your channel when I was 14, 22. Oh my god. Berry, thanks for sticking with me for so long. This is my stories about? Hell yeah. That's sick. Oh shit, I need to update this one. This is James Sabata. Oh, Vincent. I need to talk to you about comic book CreepyPasta comic book stuff soon. I got new... Just because I got a message and I didn't... I'm going to fucking forget to text you about this. I need to talk to you about CreepyPasta comic book stuff for the future. There's things that have transpired that potentially we could work on comic books. Text me. I will forget. I'm telling you now because I will forget. Because I gotta do more stories first. So, yeah. Comic book. That's not even fuck. Damn it. This is... okay. Needle drop. Burnt sugar, vinegar, and incense permeated the air as Eric cracked his third tall boy and sank into the couch cushion. The seat had molded itself to his shape over 18 months of nights like this one. The seat had molded itself to a shape over 18 months of nights like this one. The same way the odor always lingered on some level. Danny's hands stretched his pockets in beat as he sang himself. Danny's hands stretched his pockets in beat as he sang himself, sang to himself? I'm going to say yes, that's sang to himself. Danny's hands stretched his pockets in beat as he sang to himself, staring at the record shelf that took up half the living room wall. Eric rarely even tried picking anything. Only Danny understood why it was sorted the way it was. He finally picked one. Pungent Sound, Chase the Dragon. The cover slid off the vinyl, landing with the label on Danny's fingers, an emotion he'd perfected years ago. He slid it on the spindle and watched it settle before turning to Eric. Elias Vane. Pungent. Nice. Eric raised his beer to his lips again, knowing that he was about to get a history lesson he'd heard a few times before. Okay, wait. Pungent? Yeah, pungent? Pungent? Is that right? Did I say that right? Pungent sound? Did I not say that right? What are you doing? Pungent sound. Pungent sound. Chase the dragon. Right? Okay. What did I say? Did I fuck it up? You got it. Did I not say... Okay. Chase the dragon. Chase the Dragon, their only album, released posthumously less than a week after Elias's death. Danny paused, raising the tone arm from its resting place. Rather than put it on the record, he looked back at Eric and then brought the stylus slowly toward the crook of his own elbow. The nurse is going to need you to make a fist and pump it, he said while mimicking concentration. Eric laughed, already reaching for his beer again. You're gonna fucking scratch yourself, man. No, it's a precision instrument, Danny joked, tapping the stylus against his skin 3 times in quick succession, as though he was finding the vein. He sucked a deep breath through his teeth before his entire face went slack. His head slipped back theatrically. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Danny has left the building. I am at peace. I am beyond the bullshit all now. The roommates laughed together. Danny instantly reverted to normal and slammed his hand into the pocket of his jeans, looking for the real thing. The small baggie twisted and knotted at the corner. The tar ball inside had the consistency of an outdated Tootsie Roll, but was a couple shades darker. He removed it and rolled it up to light, softly mumbling, Shiva. Then he held it in his fist and pulled the tonal arm with the other. He dragged the stylus across the black tar. It was nothing. A half-second max. The needle grazed the drug, and then Danny placed it on the record, laughing at his own joke. Eric shook his head. I don't know, seems rude to mock him with the very thing that killed him. Thought he was one of your heroes. He is. Is that why you do it? So you can go out the way he did? What? Rich? Famous? Leaving behind an amazing record? You should be so lucky. You'd probably need to learn an instrument first. Matt, note for you, the scene change. Danny stretched, yawning. He watched. His watch said it was almost 2 in the morning. Almost time to tap out. Eric shook his head. Beside, you wuss. Danny walked over. I'll flip it for you, but I'm out. It was a damn long day at work. He stared at the record a bit. Then checked the stylus. There was no sign of the black tar on it at all. Probably good. It was a dumb joke anyway. He set the head shell on the record. The needle dropped. Then the guitar started. A smile warped Donnie's exhausted mouth. It's one of my many flaws on an album. Guitar just slightly ahead of where it should be. The song couldn't wait to play, they said in unison. Danny laughed. I've mentioned that, huh? Eric nodded, cracking the last tall boy in his six-pack. Oh, what the hell, Danny said, moving back towards the record. He dropped down until it was eye level. Doesn't look warped. It fucking sounds like it is. But Eric liked it. Something in him didn't want to turn it off. Take care of it. You head to bed. Sounds good. Just don't get any fingerprints on it. I'll use my toes. I promise. Danny flipped him off, as Eric slid down farther into the chair, letting his eyes close and focused on the music and the alcohol. The song played, but it was nothing like Eric had heard it before. Like a hidden layer, swelling in the mix, rising and dissolving into a full instrumentation. And then, Elias Vane's deep, resonant vocals began. His sustained notes rumbled with melancholy, a mix of vulnerability and power. Eric sat upright, realizing he was hearing a pungent sound song he'd never heard before. But how was that possible? He'd been listening to Chase the Dragon since the day the first single dropped. And yet, Elias Vane's unmistakable, aching rasp sang words that didn't exist on any pressing of this album, nor any bootleg copy. If it had, Danny would have owned it. Danny. Eric knew he should go get Danny and let him hear it, but instead, he restarted the song. He stood there, his head just tilted towards the speaker. He involuntarily held his breath. Chills ran over his arm. A tear pooled at the corner of his eye. The pure beauty of what he heard overrode any feeling of loyalty in his head. Danny was the one who chose to go to bed. What Eric had now was special. He didn't want to share it. He didn't need to. Scene change. Eric didn't get fingerprints on the vinyl, but he did store the record in his own room instead of returning it to the shelf, bringing it out most days only during Danny's work hours. By Friday, when Danny picked up extra hours, Eric spent the whole day in the living room with it, losing count how many times he restarted it, working through half a bottle of larceny without meaning to. He knew the words by heart, but only while it played. Try to hum the melody on a bathroom break, and it slipped away, so he'd listen again. Day went, Night arrived. Eric stood, glass in hand, as he belted out the bridge. As he opened his eyes, he realized Danny was watching him from the hallway. Hey. Hey, he said. I didn't mean to be so loud. There was no response. You alright, dude? Eric smirked. The shape in the shape in the hall didn't answer. It took a couple seconds too long for that fact to bother Eric, but it wasn't standing quite right. Too still. Then a blur, fuzzy, out of focus at the edges, like an old photograph. He closed his eyes and opened them again. Elias Vane's face came into focus, but it was all wrong. Too young, right around the eyes. Rotted almost everywhere else. A raspy, aching hum tried to match the song, but couldn't do so through decomposing vocal cords. Okay, let me try that again. I'm gonna do that. Gonna do this again. I didn't realize what he was seeing. So this one, Matt. I'm gonna go back to there was no response. You alright, dude? Eric smirked. The shape in the hall didn't answer. It took a couple seconds too long for that fact to bother Eric, but it wasn't standing quite right. Too still. Then a blur, fuzzy, out of focus at the edges like an old photograph. He closed his eyes and opened them again. Elias Vane's face came into focus. But it was all wrong. Too young, right around the eyes. Rotted almost everywhere else. A raspy, aching hum tried to match the song, but couldn't do so through decomposing vocal cords. Now there's a scene change. When Danny entered an hour later, Eric was upright on the couch, staring at absolutely nothing. The album spun in its let-out groove. Danny reached for the tone arm as he said, "Jesus, man, you look like you saw a ghost." "I did," Eric muttered slowly, then spat the rest out quickly, his voice all wrong. "I saw him, Vane, Elias Vane. He was right there in the hallway." Eric gripped his friend's hand. "I thought it was you." The words, "you're drunk," didn't even leave Danny's mouth, but Eric could see him fighting them back. Instead, he said, So, how's he looking these days?" "Wrong." "Lead? His lead arm? His lead? Is it lead? Am I stupid?" Okay, yeah, I'll say that right. Lead out groove, okay. When Danny entered an hour later, Eric was upright on the couch, staring at absolutely nothing. The album spun in its lead out groove. Danny reached for the tone arm as he said, "Jesus, man, you look like you saw a ghost." "I did," Eric muttered slowly, then spat the rest out quickly, his voice all wrong. I saw him, Vane, Elias Vane. He was right there in the hallway." Eric gripped his friend's hand. "I thought it was you." The words, "you're drunk," didn't even leave Danny's mouth, but Eric could see him fighting them back. Instead, he said, "So, how's he looking these days?" "Wrong, just wrong. Decaying, except his eyes. They were young." "Oh. Did he explain?" "Tried humming. But that part's not written yet." Danny's face went through several emotions before he sat on the arm of the couch. Eric leaned in. "I think he wants more." "What does?" "The album." More what?" "At night, you dipped the needle. It was a joke. I know that, but I think that's what woke it up. We need to give it..." "Nope. Just a bit. A tiny amount. You don't even have to... Do you hear yourself, Eric? He said, cracking on that thin line between anger and fear. You want to feed heroin to a record player? I need it to finish the song. Danny's hand slid down his full face, forehead to chin. Look, even if I didn't think this was absolutely insane and wanted to try it, which I don't have any. You don't have any? I just told you, I'm out. Okay, Eric said flatly. The two sat in silence until Danny gave up and went to his room. He took the album with him. Scene change. The first thing Eric said to Danny when he entered the kitchen was, I'm gonna need the album back. Danny raised an eyebrow. First, it's mine, not yours. Second, we need to talk. I need it. He started towards Danny's room. I need you to actually listen to me. The desperation in Danny's voice made Eric stop and turn. What? I know you think I love doing heroin, but those are just the days I lose. I have days where I win a round or two, and days where the shit puts me right through the floorboards, okay? The lie everyone buys into is that... the lie everyone buys into is that getting high is the relief. That it takes you somewhere, that it sets you free, but it's the exact opposite. It's not a ride. It's an eating machine. It consumes you piece by piece until you're dead. And the second you are, it just moves on. Because it never needed you to come along in the first place. You were just fuel. Eric felt the words slam into his chest, cold, ripping through him. A flicker of clarity so sharp it was physically painful. And then it was gone. And he smiled. Just so fucking dramatic. Scene change. 2 days later, that shit put Danny through the floorboards again. Eric smelled the foil and vinegar from his room. Danny sat at the kitchen table, his head tipped back, his mouth hung open at the same angle that his arm dangled over the side of the chair. Eric stood a few feet away. Hey man, you good? Danny nodded without opening his eyes. The sound escaped, but it wasn't words. Eric watched him for a minute, then his eyes shifted to the spoon on the table. The dark crust coated the curve of the utensil. Eric fought a smile as he picked it up. A 30-second stop in his roommate's room, and the album was in hand. He carried it to the record player and set it on the spindle. Eric scraped the stylus through the residue until there was nothing left. Eric scraped the stylus through the residue until there was nothing visible left. Like he did this every day. Like Danny wasn't right in the room, breathing slow and shallow, dead to the world. He finished his bottle of larceny and set it next to an unopened one, listening to the now completed song. As soon as it finished, he put it on again. Eric did this too many times to count. The final time new chords hit, Vane's voice started climbing. Eric's stomach dropped, but this time, there was no fear. There's more, he said aloud. But it was a single verse. Didn't stop him from adding to it. It didn't stop him from adding it to the rotation. Scene change. Eric was drunk by the time Danny swaying in the living room. Eric was drunk by the time he noticed Danny swaying in the living room door. His eyes were half open, but he was present enough to say, "What are you listening to?" "New one!" Eric couldn't contain the manic excitement. "There's another one, Danny. It finished the last song and it started again." "Turn it off." "You have any more?" "Turn it off. This isn't normal." He was unsteady, but quick, moving toward the turntable. Eric shook his head. "Don't you dare!" Danny reached for the record. Eric's hand wrapped around the neck of the unopened bottle. He didn't make a decision. He'd already swung. The sound it made against Danny's skull was loud, dull, final. Danny dropped without a reaction, folding sideways into the record shelf. Albums cascaded around him. Eric stood there for a second, staring at the unbroken bottle, before setting it down carefully. He watched the stylus travel the grooves and smiled to himself as the song cut off again. He gripped Danny's wrist and pulled him toward the record player. He found the crook of Danny's elbow and pressed the stylus into it. It didn't go easy. He had to try it a few times, driving the needle in short, hard motions. Eric watched the heroin-tainted blood soak into the album, leaving the stylus completely clean. He kicked back on the couch, uncapped the bottle, and poured himself a full glass. The shape stood in the hallway again, edges blurred. Vane's rotting head moved with the music. Eric tipped his glass in Vane's direction, took a drink, and closed his eyes. I'm wrong, dude. That, once again, unedited, stopped at 20:33. So, yeah, this will probably hit almost the exact same time edited as the other one. Oops, that's not right. I didn't do the intro! I'm fucking stupid! Matt, this needs to go at the beginning. I'm stupid. Needle Drop by James Sabata. Smooth move. Yeah. Shh. This is what editing is for. Shh. Hakuna Matata. Needle Drop by Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Hakuna Matata. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. What am I looking at? All hands. I think that puts you through. I like these. I like these. I never get to work on short stories anymore. That's like in reality, like every, what is it? The YouTube algorithm wants me to do stories that are like 40 minutes to pungent sound. They want me to do stories that are fucking long as shit. They want me to do things 40 minutes. Brighton? Did I say? Huh? They want things to be like 40 minutes to an hour or more. And like, that's grueling to record, sure. Like, I don't like doing them that are that long. But also, like, it's just, I like shorter stories. They get, something that's like 20 minutes really kind of like gets enough detail in there without going so overboard that I feel like it has to over-explain itself. And I miss when I was able to do that. The sweet spot could be 22 minutes. And I'm always trying to hit 22 minutes for all those stories, because I feel like that gives us enough ground, it gives us enough build-up, and it gives us a good ending within that amount of time to get your full story across. That was good. You know, that was great. I miss it. If only there was a way to split the workload. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I could always do, like, compilations of, like, 3 stories each. And, I mean, YouTubers do that. That's the thing, like, they just do, like, 3 stories, and then, like, 3 terrifying tales to blah, 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 and that's fine. I like the series, though. See, like, here's the thing, Ethan. I do like a series that's written to be a series. What I don't like is, like, if it's obviously was written to be, I don't know, it was written as 3 parts, like part 1, part 2, part 3, but it's not really written to be parts. It's like one whole story. Into another video. Marin, so, like, yeah, but, like, when it's a series where it's just one whole story and it's just too long, so they just find 2 points to cut it off, and it doesn't actually, like, arc a beginning, middle, and end for it. I don't like that as much. I would prefer to do it as one, but also, I can't fucking go for that long. And Marin, I do that because, like, again, there's another YouTube sweet spot of 3 hours and 15 minutes. So, having compilations of stories go for 3 hours and 15 minutes feeds the mystical YouTube click whatever, because for some reason that's like a magic number that people see and then they enjoy it. As long as it's 3 hours and some amount of small change, it's an attractive number that people click. That's a thing. So I do that because also it's good. But, like, I mean, like, that gives me an extra day to be able to do something else, which is great whenever, like, I'm doing major amounts of work, like in October, September, those kinds of times. But doing compilations is also fun whenever I get to do, like, little bits of, like, editing background shit, and then, like, I'm working with Matt to put together, like, a little rainy scene or things like that. Those are fun. But, like, yeah. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's neat. That sounds cool. Tales from the Gas Station of Baraska. Yeah, I'll also say this. Like, so Tales from the Gas Station was really great in its blog format in the beginning. I loved doing those because they fit that time slot. And each one was its own individual story. Tales from the Gas Station was not written to be 4 volumes from day one. It was written to be each individual story, and I loved working on those because it was each individual story that went through it. It was great. And then, I'll say the same thing for Baraska. Each Baraska story can stand on its own. Like, if you just saw Baraska Part 3 and read that, it fits in as its own little world. It does not require you to do all 4 parts of Baraska to fully to be able to just enjoy that one individual part. Knowing that there's more is fun, sure, but it has a beginning, middle, end for each individual part to Baraska. I'll say that for the first one, Baraska V, which is Baraska 5, not quite worked the same way, but again, that's just because I think it was titled Baraska, like, Part 5, because the entirety of it is Part 5, and you went into that knowing that this was Part 5 as a long story. I just had to fucking break it up so that, like, it could be narrated in a cohesive way. Where it's supposed to be sitting down and trying to do what Autumn does sometimes, which is, like, record an entire book in one sitting. Which I don't know how the fuck she does it. You just burn herself. She'll do it, too. She'll, like, get up at 10 in the fucking morning after gym, sit down and record till midnight, and just do a whole book. Jesus. Getting paid by the word? I wish. I wish you get paid by a word. Doing an audiobook? No, you get paid per finished hour. Usually. So whatever you're doing an audiobook, you get paid per finished hour. Meaning that, like, not even like a finished hour for things. If I need a hand for audiobook reading is pretty convincing. No, that's true. It's just one of those, you're out. Goodbye, Vincent. It is pretty convincing. It is. Yeah, it's pretty good to be able to do it, but it's more the process of doing an audiobook whenever it is that, like, as long, you know, you're talking about doing, I don't know, like 80,000 words or something. That's a lot of time. And, like, to just do that as if, like, I'm going to do this in a 9 to 5 setting for non-stop recording is crazy. You like, completely blow out your voice doing something like that for that long. Yeah. Oh shit, I need to actually set up the experimental haunted house. Can I say, Spike, honestly, it's cool that 10 years ago or so, listening to you narrate Kaba stuff on your channel. No, dude, I appreciate it. That's cool. Thanks for sticking around with me. No, that's really cool. Wish Vincent were here still to be able to see that. He'd probably feel good about that, too. Vincent is, like, one of the coolest, like, authors I know of. So, like, being able to narrate his stuff is always fun. I think that's... There's like a couple of authors I work with where like I know whenever they hand me something, it's just gonna be fucking banger. And that's the case with like both of the authors from Midnight Monster Madness, which I assume why they're friends and why they work on books together is because like they're both good and they both can write in the same vein when it comes down to like this wacky comedy stuff. Not to mention like Vincent's always so fucking like pop culturally aware that like he can make these kind of like references and shit in his books that are just funny. That's why like I always resort to, even whenever I do like live shows at like conventions and things like that, I always have to throw in a Vincent story because they're just so good. Like he wrote all the stories we did back in 2019 when I went on tour. He wrote like most of them. And he's gonna be like he's always like in the books I do, and he's always all this stuff because I think he knows his shit, right? Like I've consumed almost exclusively horror media for the longest time, but like also the few shit that I do outside of horror media, he and I also just share like a love of like reading like Batman and Superman comics and things like that. So he's like such a cool guy. He's like knows so much about like actual pop culture stuff. It makes him really cool to hang with and all that shit. So he's so great. I'm glad I still get to work on his stuff. He has not hated me yet. No questions back. I'll sell you a Goodwill. What did you say? People, what did bro? What did you say? What did you say? What is the most disturbing short and long stories I've narrated? Fuck, man, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I just did The Third Parent. It's on Spotify. It's exclusive to Spotify. That one's fucked up. Like, I did that one. I recorded that one live. And I went into it like, I could record this, no problem. And I got into it, and I was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't. That one was fucked up. I don't... Oh, I could tell you, Lindy, I am going to be re-recording stories I've narrated. And the one I'm restarting with is Ben Drowned. That one's on this list right here. Literally, Ben Drowned is supposed to come up after these Mr. Outlaw stories that show up here, so... That was terrible. It's just fucked up. I have no other way of putting it. That one was just so fucked up. Yeah. the most terrifying thing you will ever experience. Do you dare? That was the exact phrase that had been printed on the flyer. I had stumbled out of a bar one night preparing to walk back to my apartment when I noticed it. The flyer had been stapled to a telephone pole, nearly buried beneath several others. Halloween was coming up, so I'd already seen plenty of advertisements for various kinds of haunted houses, but this one stood out, largely due to how different it looked from the rest. I guess you could have called it a bare-bones design, other than the slogan, which was in large, bold letters. The only thing that had been printed on there was an email address near the bottom. Strange, but I liked it. It intrigued me. I took a picture of it, and once I got home, I sent an email stating that I'd seen the flyer and was curious as to what this was all about. They got back to me the next day. Hi there. Glad we've caught your interest. We're a new startup company that aims to deliver revolutionary horror experiences. Think about the classic haunted house you'd find at fairs or in your local community. They're fun for the family, a good option for a first date. But have you ever actually been scared by one of these? What we've developed here transcends that. What we're offering is an opportunity to experience true primal fear. Are you brave enough to find out what we have in store? I thought it was a bit corny at first. I mean, how are you going to shit on the very concept of a haunted house when that's exactly what you were marketing? But as skeptical as I was, I still reckon that it could be something worth checking out. I hadn't been to a haunted house in a while. Maybe they really did have a unique spin on it. I replied, stating that I was indeed brave enough to check it out, that I'd like to know more about what they were offering. This time they got back to me within the hour, providing a more in-depth explanation. Essentially, their twist on the conventional haunted house was that it wouldn't take place in a house at all. Not some makeshift DIY thing either. They were going to set it up in an abandoned building near the edge of the city. But there was another layer to it, because apparently nobody knew what the building had actually been used for, why it existed at all. There were even rumors that it just appeared one day out of thin air, that it wasn't even man-made. I wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean, but it was pretty decent marketing. That much I couldn't deny. But things had gotten expensive these days, and it's left me with a pretty tight budget. And with what sounded like such an elaborate setup, I had my doubts that I'd be able to afford the entrance fee. I brought this up to them in my next email, and they told me it wouldn't be a problem. That I wouldn't actually need to fork up any cash at all because they'd be the ones compensating me for my time. $400 cash, to be dispersed at the end. But technically, the project was still in its developmental phase. That this was only going to serve as a test run, an experiment. They assured me that they had implemented rigid safety protocols, that they themselves had gone through it several times, and could say with confidence that there was no risk of anybody getting hurt. At this point, I honestly couldn't believe my luck, because quite frankly, the money would have been real nice. I suppose that I was ecstatic enough that I had stopped analyzing the situation through a critical lens. But I don't know. What would you have done if you were me? Would you have questioned things more? I mean, be honest with yourself. I sent a reply telling them that I was in, to go ahead and tell me exactly what I needed to do. The reply was short, to the point. Just a set of coordinates along with a time and a date, and also a note stating that they'd cover any travel expenses as long as we kept our receipts. Scene change. 9 a.m. on October 26th. I put the coordinates into Google, and it turned up as a 35-minute drive out to an area that I'd never been to before. Looked like some country road with a forest on one side and a large cornfield on the other, but I didn't see a building, which bothered me for reasons I couldn't really comprehend at the time. Just not nearly enough to dissuade me altogether. I asked them if I could bring somebody along, and they told me that I could, but that they only had one spot left, and it was first come, first serve. I considered asking my girlfriend Luna, but realized the idea of driving out to some abandoned road to enter some sketchy building might not be terribly appealing to her, so I thought about who might really need the money, and it was an obvious choice. My friend Josh. Met him in college, and we'd been good friends ever since. It'd been nearly 6 years since we'd graduated, and I don't think he's ever worked at the same company for longer than 3 months. And over these past few years, I don't think he's been working at all. You know those reels with the captions like, your unemployed friend on a Tuesday afternoon, and it's some guy feeding a llama in a jungle or something? That's him. He has no car, lives in a shitbox studio with no furniture. How he even has the money to pay for rent or food, I couldn't even begin to guess. Savings, he tells me, whatever that means. Predictably, Josh seemed pretty enthused by the idea when I brought it up. He almost sounded relieved. On the morning of the 26th, I picked him up, and we drove all the way out there. Based on the stories so far, you might be under the impression that I'm not the brightest. But I'm not a complete idiot either. I let Luna know exactly where I was going, told her that if I wasn't picking up my phone at around noon, then something might be up. We arrived at the coordinates at around 8:40. It really was just a random spot in the road. There was a small clearing in the forest where a few cars were already parked, so I followed suit and backed my Nissan into it. After parking, we got out. The air was cold and crisp, and the skies above were a deep blue. We looked around at the 4 people who were already there. One of them was a younger girl, maybe in her late teens or early 20s, wearing a jacket with the hood pulled up, athletic leggings, sneakers. She was sitting on a tree stump with her arms crossed, and then there were a couple that appeared to be in their 30s, sitting on the hood of their car. They both seemed to be mildly annoyed, and I couldn't tell if it was because of each other or they were actively regretting their decision to be there. Finally, there was a guy that could have been in his early or mid-20s, tall and lean with sharp features, his hair bleached and buzzed close to the scalp, a tattoo of what appeared to be a tiger on his neck. He was dressed in what I can only describe as tactical streetwear, and he was the only one that acknowledged our existence. He walked over to us with this huge grin on his face and shook both of our hands. He introduced himself as Kijun, told us that he was visiting from Korea for the week. We asked him why he'd chosen to come here out of all places, since our city was far from being anything close to a tourist destination. He explained that this haunted house was actually an urban legend of sorts, but one that had more credibility than most others, because there were actual official police reports detailing cases where people had gone missing after entering the place, ones that had since been scrubbed from public records. I asked if he'd actually read these reports himself. He said that he hadn't, that they were pretty hard to find, but that he was really into this sort of thing. The weird, the strange, the dangerous. So he'd done as much research as he could and found some contact in America who clued him in on this place, and now he was here. I wasn't sure whether I really believed him. I looked at Josh and could tell that he was feeling something similar. This Kijun might have been somebody hired by the company to give a script to try to freak us out. And if that had been the case, it was kind of working right then. But before we could ask him anything else, another vehicle pulled up. A black Mustang, new and shiny. It parked against the hill leading down to the clearing before two young guys climbed up. It parked against the hill leading down to the clearing before two young guys climbed out of it, both wearing college football jerseys. They both appeared to be drunk, perhaps also high on coke. They were laughing, stumbling over their feet as they made their way towards us. They told us their names were Chad and Harrison, and had spent a painful few minutes trying to have a conversation with them before somebody walked out of the forest. A sharp-looking guy in a suit, maybe early 30s, looked like he belonged in a boardroom somewhere. Thinking about it now, I don't think I actually heard or saw him coming out of the woods. He sort of just appeared. He introduced himself as Sinclair, the CEO of the startup. He told us how nice it was to meet everyone, and that he'd be the one guiding us over to the building. Kijun raised a hand, asked him what the actual name of the startup was. Sinclair smiled, told him that it was still a work in progress, and that he wasn't at liberty to divulge much in the way of details. After he'd answered, Kijun looked over at us and raised his eyebrows, as if to signal, "Hey, isn't that fucking weird?" And it was. This whole thing was extremely bizarre, and only now I was starting to realize it. At the time, I figured maybe it was all part of the show, that it was meant to be as immersive as possible, and in that case, they were doing a hell of a job. I looked around at the others. Chad and Harrison seemed too drunk and coked out to really give a shit. The couple appeared to be quietly arguing with each other, which kept them preoccupied. From eavesdropping in on their conversation, I learned that their names were Liam and Deb. The girl in the jacket was stone-faced, staring blankly ahead. It was hard to tell what she was thinking. And of course, there was Kijun. Sinclair asked if there was any more questions, and Josh raised a hand, asked why we hadn't just met at the building directly. Sinclair told him that there was no roads leading to it, that it would be difficult to find without a guide who knew exactly where they were going. Josh asked what that was supposed to mean. Sinclair told him that we'd all find out soon enough. He told everybody to come with him before turning around and walking into the forest. We all hesitated for a moment before following. We walked along a rough trail for about half an hour before arriving at a huge, unnatural-looking clearing. And there it was. An actual building in the middle of the woods. It was about the size of a small corporate office, painted dark gray, 3 stories tall. The strangest thing about it was that it didn't even look terribly dilapidated. Not that it looked brand new or anything. Sections of the paint had started to peel, and a few of the windows were cracked, but it really didn't seem like it had been abandoned for long. It looked like it could have been functional just a few years prior. But functioning as what? What the hell was it doing out here? "Well, this is it," Sinclair said. We all stared at him. For a while, nobody said a word. Even the cocaine bros had been rendered silent. "So this is something you guys built?" Liam asked him. "I mean, are you really sure it's safe?" Sinclair looked at him. "I can assure you that we've done our due diligence, and there's absolutely nothing to be worried about," he said. "We've cleared all the debris, accounted for any electrical hazards, unstable floors, everything. Nothing to worry about." Liam didn't seem so convinced. But then Deb nudged him. "This was your idea," she whispered through gritted teeth, "so relax." He paused, took another look at the building. "Besides, this might be interesting." Liam rolled his eyes, then looked back at Sinclair. "You know, if anything goes wrong, there's going to be hell to pay. I haven't signed any waivers yet, and I'm not going to." Sinclair put his hands up in a playful defensive gesture. "I hear you, I understand, but there's really nothing to worry about. Nothing to sign. That's how much we trust it." You didn't answer my first question, Liam continued. Did you guys build this? Looks awfully expensive for what you're trying to do here. We didn't build it, Sinclair told him. As expressed in our prior communications, we don't know who built this place. We don't know where it came from. Liam scoffed. So is this like some part of the act, or are you being serious? I can't tell anymore. Sinclair stared at him. We don't really know. Chad and Harrison started laughing. This is some freaky-ass shit, I heard one of them say. Any more questions or concerns? Sinclair asked us. Silence followed. Sinclair's smile returned, and he reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. He flipped it open, revealing a stack of $100 bills. As stated, your compensation will come out to $400, $200 up front, the other $200 once we've finished everything up. So please, form a line. We did just that, each taking our promised amount. I could see Josh's eyes lighting up as his fingers touched the cash. Once everybody had gotten their money, Sinclair led us over to one of the building's entrances. It'll be a simple process, he told us. Go inside, follow the red arrows that have been taped to the walls until you've reached the exit. It should take around 30 minutes in total, and I'll be waiting for you at the end. With that, he walked off to the side and gestured for us to enter. I'd be lying if I said my expectations hadn't been set high at that point. The entire build-up had been unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. My heart was beating heavy. I was excited. Inside, it just looked like any bog-standard office. The harsh, incandescent light did give it an eerie, liminal vibe. I suppose that was the angle they were going for. No cobwebs, no pots of boiling blood, no skeletons hiding underneath floorboards waiting to jump out and grab your ankles. Just an empty building. But there was something strange about it. Subtle feeling. It wasn't just the fact that it was deep inside a forest. There was something else, something hard to identify, something uncomfortable. I reckon everybody else started feeling it as well, because nobody was saying a word. But we sucked it up and began following the tape down the first corridor. It stretched on for a good bit before we turned into another one, and then another one. After traversing through several more identical-looking corridors, we realized what was wrong with the place. The layout didn't make any sense, just a bunch of hallways with no actual rooms. It was almost disorienting. And this is the point where Chad told us that he was heading back, that he wouldn't go any further. We turned to look at him. He'd already started lagging well behind the rest of the group, his face painted with a pretty earnest expression of terror. Harrison asked him what was wrong. He looked at the floor, then the walls, then back at us. He shook his head. I'm not going any further, he repeated. Before we could say anything else, he turned and walked away, disappearing around the corner. Hey, man, Harris called after him. What the hell are you doing? He then shook his head. The fuck's his problem? The fuck's his problem? He muttered to himself. Aren't you going to go after him? Kijun asked. Harrison shook his head. Fuck that, I need the money. We ventured on. After 5 or 6 or maybe 10 more corridors, I was starting to feel the itch to turn back myself. There wasn't even any explicit threat, just this constant, relentless feeling of, what the fuck is going on? I asked Kijun what he thought about it, but he didn't answer. Instead, he seemed fixated on one of the walls. After a while, I realized why. There was no tape. On either of the walls, I couldn't recall a point where I'd consciously took stock of the fact that the arrows were no longer there. I guess we just hadn't been paying attention. I looked back down the corridor we just walked through and saw there was no tape behind us either. We had just been moving around aimlessly, and for how long? Why hadn't we noticed? Alright, there's no fucking way that we're lost in here, Liam declared. The building wasn't that big from the outside. I don't like this, Deb said to him. Let's get the hell out of here. Oh, now you want to leave. Are you going to tell me you want to fucking stay? He thought about it for a moment, and then shook his head. Hell no. They turned around and began walking away. Hey, that's not the right direction, Kijun called after them. Josh looked at him. What are you talking about? That's where we came from. Kijun stared back at him. Are you sure? I looked around and tried to figure it out myself. And I realized I wasn't sure. Without the arrows, everything kind of looked the same, but I told myself that wasn't a problem. Walk around enough and eventually we'll make it out, right? But for whatever reason, I couldn't seem to convince myself that that was the case. You guys are overreacting, Harrison told us. We came from there, he pointed behind us, so we're supposed to go there, he pointed ahead. His voice was loud, but there wasn't much confidence behind it. But at the same time, we couldn't really argue with him. We had to go somewhere. So we walked on. More and more corridors. Soon 15 more minutes had passed, and still no sign of an exit or a room or even a dead end. Was it possible that we were just continuously traversing through a loop? I started keeping track of turns we were taking. Left, left, right, left, 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 right, right. Clearly we weren't. I took out my phone to find that the signal was dead. I asked around, and so was everyone else's. 10 more minutes, and now the panic had turned into one hell of a thing. The space was starting to feel claustrophobic, almost threatening. Harrison had started jogging ahead, and we struggled to keep up with him. I looked over at Kijun, seeing that the excitement once present in his face had been drained almost completely away, replaced with a sense of cautious bewilderment. After what must have been our 100th turn, there finally came a change in scenery. A single window sitting at the end of yet another corridor. It was the first window that we'd seen the entire time that we'd been in there. It was the first window that we'd seen the entire time we'd been in there, so it was quite the jarring visual, but it was also a potential way out. We began walking towards it with the girl in the jacket telling us not to, that we needed to turn around and get away from it as soon as possible. It was the first time we'd ever heard her speak. Up until that point, she'd just been following silently along. We weren't really sure what her deal was, but I suppose we'd been too preoccupied to ask. Harrison looked at her. What? What the fuck are you talking about? We shouldn't go near any windows, she told us. We should turn around. Or what? What's going to happen? I don't know exactly, she said, but probably nothing good. Harrison shook his head. Yeah, fuck that. And fuck the money. I'm getting out of here. He marched toward the window, with Josh and Kijun following close behind. I stayed back and asked the girl how she knew that going near the windows would be dangerous. She told me it was a long story. She'd explain it later, but for now, we really needed to leave. If they aren't going to listen to me, then go over there and convince them, she said to me. If we don't leave soon, then I'm going on my own. That window is not a way out. I could see her expression crack, a quiver in her lips. She was almost pleading. If she wasn't dead serious, then she was one hell of an actor. I asked her if she was aware of something that we weren't. If she knew something that we didn't. You don't have time for me to explain it all to you, she said. We need to leave. I really didn't want to believe her. I wanted to believe that window was really just a way out. And in that moment, I managed to convince myself that her words were just fear manifesting into paranoia. I turned away from her and walked over to the window. The others were all huddled up against it, and I asked them what they were seeing. Josh turned around. He looked both confused and horrified. Take a look. He made some space for me, and I squeezed in. And at first, it felt like my brain was short-circuiting. Outside, there were no trees, no brush, just a wide, open field blanketed by heavy fog. Definitely not the forest we'd come in from. Kijun suggested that maybe it was a painting. But if you took a good look at it for more than a few seconds, you realized that it definitely wasn't. The mist was moving, slowly rolling forward, wind blowing through the grass. Harrison suddenly backed up, delivered a hard kick to the glass. It didn't crack. It didn't even shake. It just made a dull, thudding noise, as if it were solid concrete disguised as a window. He shook his head. Tried kicking it again. And then again and again. But then he stopped. Started squinting at something through the glass. We asked him what he was seeing. He told us, take a look for ourselves. At first, the fog made it difficult to tell exactly what it was, just some vague shape in the distance, getting steadily closer. So we all stood still and just stared at it. I guess we were too shocked to really do anything else, but soon it was close enough that we could tell it was human-shaped. A man sprinting right towards us. He was naked and his skin appeared to be burnt. He had long, wild hair that was sticking out at all odd angles. We began to back away. I turned around and saw that the girl was already gone. The man continued barreling towards us, and soon we could make out some of his more particular... The man continued barreling towards us, and soon we could make out some more of his more peculiar features, like the fact that his arms were so long his fingers were scraping the top of the grass. The fact that his arms were so long that his fingers were scraping the top of the grass. We didn't wait for him to get any closer, and we all turned and ran. We rounded the first corner. We could hear the glass break. Something heavy smacked down onto the floor. We ran faster, though it quickly became clear that Harrison was the fastest among us. He turned around, shouted at us to catch up, but we were unable to do so. Soon he was out of sight, leaving us in the dust. My lungs were burning, and my legs felt like steel. I just tried to push forward. Something that sounded like a horse croaking reverberated through the corridors, accompanied by the sound of dense, uneven footsteps. It was hard to tell exactly how far away they were, but certainly close enough for me to start losing my shit. The three of us turned another corner, then skidded to a stop. There was a door in the wall. The first door we'd actually seen in this place, apart from the entrance. We stared at it as we caught our breaths, listening to footsteps and the croaking growing closer. Then we stared at each other, all coming to a mutual understanding. The door likely wasn't going to lead us anywhere we wanted to be, but we couldn't run forever. We opened it, and we rushed in, slamming it shut behind us. We found ourselves standing in complete darkness. For a while, we didn't move, we didn't make a noise, we just held our breath, listening to footsteps as they continued to close in on us, praying that they'd run right past. Thankfully, they did. But even after they had long faded away, we remained standing there, still terrified to move. It took a while for us to feel secure enough to move and speak freely, and once we did, we took out our phones and turned on our flashlights, illuminating a room that looked like something ripped straight out of some obscure nightmare. The walls and floor appeared to be made out of old, severely rusted metal. We hadn't really taken stock of the smell at first, but now it was heavy, delivering an assault on our senses. The room was no bigger than a standard high school classroom, but it was completely empty. The only thing in there apart from the door we'd entered through being two sets of stairs, one leading up, the other leading down. Neither option seemed particularly enticing, and we began to argue about what to do next. We first decided to try to leave the room, gambling on the idea that we wouldn't have to run into whatever the hell had broken through the window. But when we tried to open the door, we weren't able to. It had locked itself from the inside. We tried forcing it open by taking turns slamming our shoulders into it, but it never came close to budging. So we settled on going upstairs instead. We began climbing the stairs, and we kept climbing. It took us far too long to realize what was wrong, because we should have reached the second floor long ago. Even if these stairs went all the way up to the third, we should have been there at this point. The building couldn't have been more than 30 or 40 feet tall. We've been walking for over 20 minutes. We all noticed the air had grown thicker. It had become difficult to breathe. We began retreating down the steps. And once again, the stairs wouldn't end. Not after 30 minutes, not after an hour. I could hear Josh starting to hyperventilate. I tried to calm him down. Eventually he did. And then we just sat there. We were exhausted, mentally wiped. Kijun's phone was the first to die, and then so did Josh's. Now we're down to one light, and it wouldn't be much longer before we were in the dark. After a while, we could hear footsteps moving up towards us. We stood up, ready to sprint again, when a familiar voice called up to us. "Wait, it's me!" I angled my light down the steps, and it revealed the girl in the jacket. I was too paranoid at that point to fully accept that it wasn't some kind of trick, so I continued to back away. "Don't freak out, it's me. It really is." She seemed earnest enough. I asked her where she'd been this entire time. She shook her head. "I don't know, just around, I guess." I asked her what the hell that was even supposed to mean, and why she seemed so relaxed. "Look, I'll tell you, but we need to get out of the stairs first," she told me. "It's dangerous here." I told her to tell us what she knew about this place that we apparently didn't. That if it might help us escape this place alive, we deserve to know. She took a deep breath. And then she told us her name. Nadia. Some time ago, her brother Anton had gone into one of these, and he hadn't come back out. I asked her what one of these was supposed to mean. She explained that this place can appear in different locations and could take on different forms. The one that her brother had gone into had been a different city altogether. The one that her brother had gone into had been in a different city altogether. He'd also been part of a group of 8, and out of those 8, only 3 had been seen again. 2 of them had made it all the way to the end, while the third had left very early on. Her brother's girlfriend, Dixie, had been one of the 2 that had made it to the end. "So this place ends?" Josh asked her hopefully. She nodded. "Eventually it should." According to Dixie, we just have to deal with a lot of shit before it finally does. As she was speaking, I felt a sudden flash of anger. I asked her why the hell she hadn't stopped us from coming in here in the first place. If she was privy to all this information, why didn't she just tell us from the get-go? "Would you have believed me?" she replied. "If I'd caused a scene out there on the road and told everybody that this was some fucked up, dangerous place, would you have believed it? Or would you have thought I was a psycho or paid to promote the place or something?" I thought about it for a while. And I really wasn't sure. I then asked her why she decided to come back herself. She said it was to try and find Anton. She didn't think he was dead, just trapped in here somewhere. She said she was going to get him out. She'd gotten so much information out of Dixie as possible. She'd gotten as much information out of Dixie as possible, and then went and did some of her own research. But she'd gone a lot deeper than Kijun had, managing to track down first-hand accounts of others who had entered and survived the place. Though a lot of it ended up being incoherent. Their memories of the place being scattered, hazy, unconsciously repressed. But what she was able to conclude from all of it was that if you ever find yourself in here, you just had to keep going. Even when the desperation hits and you're terrified and things seem hopeless, you just have to keep going. Because eventually the place will let you go. But only after you've proven to it that it isn't going to be able to break you. It could take hours, maybe days, but you had no other option. She had mentioned that if anything seems even remotely dangerous in here, it most certainly is. She then told us that we needed to get moving. Back up the stairs. We asked why up and not down. She said, that's just what she's read from the reports. Something about how once you were in the basement, you were basically in hell and you were never getting out. It was a lot to take in and process. We felt it best to just listen to her. So we began to move back up the stairs. Okay. Dinner is ready downstairs. I'm going to go eat dinner. I have a couple more parts to this haunted house story that are also going to be recorded. I'm probably going to do those off stream just so that, like, if you watch the video when it comes out, you're not like, I'll go to live stream and watch it there. So yeah, you gotta be there, you know what I'm saying? You gotta watch the actual video. Yeah, I'm going to do that because I am extremely hungry and I'm going to get things. I'm going to drop these stories off to my editor for now and I'll get the next two done on off stream. Stick around for those of you guys that are watching on Twitch. I'm going to be dropping you guys off with a friend of mine. For those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, stay. Are you going to mention the TV thing you spoke about earlier? How many? Okay. August, September, October contest. Yeah, that's right. Should I? I can show you guys what it is. And then I don't know if the actual code works yet. Because there is going to be a code that you guys can use to get a discount if you don't like immediately like win one, right? So there's that. Can I not just take one of these photos as I'm not? It's this. These will be given out over the next month or so. And you could try it now. Code CreepyPasta should give you some kind of discount if it's active. If it's not, oopsie doodles. And wait. And we'll get one working for you then. Till then, we currently have... I'm working with a deal to be able to give some of these things away to you guys for free. So that's a fat link. It is a fat link. I could probably just give you this. Let me see. Can I just delete this? I don't know if I can. I don't know how this works. No. There you go. That one. There's a less fat link. You can try getting one of these on your own if you want one. Otherwise, these things are cute. They're fun. They're giving we're going to be working with them to get you guys free ones. So obviously, like, yeah, you'll be able to check them out. Let me know if you do the thing. Otherwise, come back to streams. Like I said, if you guys have been on Twitch, you will have to be on YouTube to be able to win one of these. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, you have to. If you're on YouTube, you do have to be following me on Twitch if you want to be around for when I'm building dinosaurs for the haunted house to happen at the end of October. So make sure to do your thing. I'm going to go ahead and send you guys to my outro, to my ending screen. And I will be dropping you guys on Twitch off with a friend of mine. And for those of you guys that are currently watching on YouTube, I'm just going to end. It's going to be confusing as shit for you because you're not going to know what the fuck's going on.